Stop scrolling, because in exactly 4 minutes, the man at that microphone will realize his wife just destroyed him in front of 300 people. And half of them are recording. My name is Maya Brooks, and I'm wearing a sapphire necklace worth more than most people's cars. My husband bought it yesterday. He thinks it's a leash. He's wrong. It's a countdown timer. The ballroom at the Harborview Grand smells like money and lilies. Crystal chandeliers throw light across faces I've smiled at for 5 years. Donors, politicians, people who think Calvin Brooks is Savannah's savior. My husband stands at the podium in a Tom Ford suit, his voice smooth as aged bourbon. Tonight, we celebrate hope. The Brooks Bright Future Fund has changed lives. My phone buzzes once in my clutch. The package is live. I don't look down. I adjust my necklace and count my heartbeats. 4 minutes until the screen behind Calvin switches feeds. 4 minutes until 47 megabytes of evidence replaces his highlight reel. 4 minutes until his mother, who's sitting 3 feet away from me in Chanel and Fury, realizes her daughter-in-law isn't stupid. She just played stupid for 11 months. Calvin's voice rises with practiced emotion. Thanks to your generosity, we've built 12 community centers, funded 40 scholarships. My champagne glass is sweating. I don't drink it. Instead, I watch the AV tech near the stage, a woman named Sandra who Calvin screamed at last week for incompetence. She catches my eye for half a second. She knows what's coming. So does the man pretending to check champagne bottles near the kitchen door. His name isn't on the catering manifest. His name is Agent Daniel Ruiz, and his badge says Federal Financial Crimes Division. Vivian Brooks, Calvin's mother, my monster-in-law, leans close and whispers, "You look pale, Maya. Smile wider or people will think you're ungrateful." I smile so wide my face aches, because Vivian doesn't know what I know. She doesn't know that 3 hours ago, I uploaded 15 months of evidence to a federal server. She doesn't know her perfect son has been stealing from sick kids. And she definitely doesn't know that she's on the footage too. Calvin finishes his opening with a flourish. "Let's watch how far we've come together." The screen flickers to life behind him, smiling children, ribbon cuttings, handshakes with senators. Perfect, polished, fake. I count down in my head. 3 minutes. Let me rewind to the moment I stopped being the good wife. It was a Tuesday, 11 months ago. Calvin was in Atlanta meeting investors. I was home, trying to figure out why our joint checking account showed $3,200 less than yesterday. A package arrived, heavy, brown. Stamped * confidential RIDGWELL processing. I almost didn't open it, but the address label had my name on it. Not Calvin's. Mine. Inside were invoices. $50,000 for event lighting at a community center that doesn't have electricity. $72,000 for outreach materials printed by a company with no website. $30,000 for consulting fees paid to someone named Marcus Lyle, a man I'd never heard of. I used to teach nonprofit communications at Georgia Southern. I know what real invoices look like. These were fantasy. When Calvin came home that night, I set the papers on the kitchen counter like a landmine. "What's Ridgewell Processing?" I asked. He didn't even blink. "Vendor stuff." "Boring business paperwork. It has my name on it." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Admin error. Don't stress about it, babe. You'll get confused." That word, confused, landed like a slap. Not "I'll explain it." Not "let me clarify." "You'll get confused." Like I was a child who couldn't read numbers. I nodded. I smiled. I put the invoices in a drawer. And that night, after Calvin fell asleep, I photographed every single page and started a spreadsheet. If he wanted to treat me like I was stupid, fine. I'd be the smartest stupid woman he'd ever underestimated. Calvin's fatal flaw wasn't arrogance, it was laziness. He used the same password for everything, *Vive 967, his mother's name and birth year. I found it on a sticky note under his desk calendar 2 years ago. He claimed he needed it for emergencies. Emergencies like his wife accessing his files, apparently. At 2 a.m., while Calvin snored upstairs, I sat at his home office desk and logged into the charity's shared cloud drive. My hands shook so hard I mistyped the password twice. On the third try, it opened. Folders, hundreds of them. I clicked one labeled *** transfers, internal only. Inside were spreadsheets tracking payments to vendors I'd never heard of. Ridgewell, Summit Consulting, Apex Solutions. I cross-checked them with the charity's public tax filings. None of them existed, not as registered businesses, not as LLCs, not even as DBA names. Just names on invoices, sucking money out of donations meant for kids. Then I found the folder that made my stomach drop. VIVIAN, do not delete. I hesitated. My finger hovered over the mouse. If I opened it, I couldn't unknow what was inside. I opened it. Contracts, signed agreements. A shell company registered in Delaware under Vivian's maiden name, Hargrave Holdings, LLC. Ridgewell Processing wasn't a vendor. It was a funnel. And Vivian, the woman who lectured me about family values every Sunday, was the other end of the hose. My vision blurred. I grabbed my phone and took photos of everything, hands trembling so hard the images came out shaky. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Calvin's voice, groggy and irritated, drifted from upstairs. Maya. You down there? I closed every window, cleared the browser history, shoved my phone in my pocket, and turned off the desk lamp. Just getting water, I called back, voice too bright. I walked to the kitchen, filled a glass, and stood there in the dark, heart hammering, wondering if he'd check the computer logs. He didn't. But the next morning, everything changed. Calvin brought me flowers, roses, 24, crimson and perfect. Calvin never brought flowers. What's the occasion? I asked, smiling like this was normal. No occasion, he said, too smooth. Just wanted to remind you how much I love you. Then he slid a folder across the breakfast table. I've been thinking, he said, our finances are messy. Let's simplify. One account, less stress for you. I opened the folder. A joint account closure form. My personal checking account, the one thing I still controlled, would be merged into his. Every dollar I earned teaching part-time workshops would flow through him first. My throat went dry. Why now? I asked carefully. Because I want to take care of you, he said, voice soft as a threat. Isn't that what husbands do? I stared at the signature line. If I refused, he'd know I didn't trust him. If I signed, I'd lose my last piece of financial independence. So I did something I'd never done before. I lied with my whole face. You're right, I said, picking up the pen. This is easier. I signed my name in slow, careful loops. Calvin's shoulders relaxed. He kissed my forehead. Good girl. The phrase made my skin crawl, but it also made him sloppy. That afternoon, his phone buzzed on the counter while he showered. A text flashed across the screen. From V, move the grant money before Friday. She's getting curious. That word had teeth. I didn't touch his phone. I took a photo of the screen with mine and sent it to myself, then deleted the sent message. Then I did what any good wife would do. I went upstairs and asked Calvin what he wanted for dinner. He smiled and said, "Surprise me." So I did. I made reservations at his favorite steakhouse, laughed at his jokes, held his hand across the table. And while he ordered dessert, I texted my former student, the one who became a forensic auditor. Layla, I need to talk, urgent. Her reply came in seconds. When? Tomorrow. Somewhere he'd never go. She sent me an address to a diner 40 minutes outside Savannah, the kind with peeling vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like regret. I told Calvin I had a dentist appointment. He didn't even look up from his laptop. Layla Shaw didn't look like someone who could dismantle financial empires. She looked like someone's cool aunt, chunky glasses, braids pulled into a bun, a tote bag covered in enamel pins. But when I slid my phone across the diner table and showed her the screenshots, her face went stone cold. Maya, she said slowly, this isn't sloppy bookkeeping. This is wire fraud. My chest tightened. Are you sure? Look, she zoomed in on one of the invoices. See this routing number? It's fake. The account structure doesn't match any real bank. What does that mean? It means your husband isn't just stealing. He's laundering it through fake vendors so it looks legitimate on paper. I felt lightheaded. What do I do? Layla leaned forward. You need a lawyer. Or better, a federal agent. I can't go to the police. Calvin knows half the cops in Savannah. Then you go over their heads. She pulled out her phone. I know someone. FBI white-collar division, he owes me a favor. Will he even listen? Layla smiled, sharp as a scalpel. If I send him this. He'll listen. 3 days later, I sat in a Starbucks parking lot at 6 a.m., hands clammy, waiting for a man I'd never met. A black sedan pulled up. The driver's window rolled down. Mrs. Brooks, I nodded. I'm Agent Daniel Ruiz, get in. I hesitated for half a second, then opened the passenger door. Ruiz looked exactly like someone who'd spent 20 years catching liars, sharp eyes, no-nonsense jawline, a wedding ring worn thin. Layla sent me your evidence, he said without preamble. It's good, but it's not enough. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? Screenshots can be faked. I need recordings, documents. Proof that can't be explained away in court. How do I get that? He reached into his jacket and pulled out something small, a pen. This records audio and video. Twist the top to activate. Don't use it unless you're safe. Don't force conversations. Let him talk. I took the pen. It felt heavier than it should. What happens if he finds out? I asked. Ruiz's expression didn't change. Then you call me immediately and we pull you out. And if I can't call, he handed me a card with a single phone number. Then you text this number one word, red asterisk. We'll come get you. I stared at the card. This was real. This wasn't just screenshots and spreadsheets anymore. This was federal. One more thing, Ruiz said. If you do this, there's no halfway. Once we move, your life changes forever. You ready for that? I thought about Calvin's hand on my shoulder, steering me through rooms like I was furniture. I thought about Vivian's smirk every time I tried to speak. I thought about the kids whose scholarship money paid for someone's beach house. Yes, I said. I'm ready. Ruiz nodded. Then let's build a case. The first time I used the pen, I nearly threw up. Calvin was in his office on speakerphone with someone from the board, a man named Douglas who I'd met twice at fundraisers. I knocked softly. Honey, do you want coffee? Not now, Maya, Calvin said without looking up. Perfect. He didn't notice me leave the pen on the bookshelf, angled toward his desk. I went to the kitchen and made coffee I didn't drink, listening to my heartbeat in my ears. 15 minutes later, I retrieved the pen. That night, I locked myself in the bathroom and played the recording. Calvin's voice, clear as glass, moved the Ridgewell payment through the new shell. Vivian's worried the board's getting nosy. Douglas, what about Maya? She asked questions. Calvin laughed. She signed the postnup. She's handled. I played it 3 times. Then I sent it to Ruiz. His reply came fast. Good work. Keep going. But the next morning, everything went wrong. I woke up to find Calvin sitting on the edge of our bed, fully dressed, staring at me. Morning, I said carefully. Where's your phone? He asked. My blood went cold. Charging. Why? Just wondering. He smiled, but it didn't touch his eyes. You've been distracted lately. I'm fine. You sure? Because Vivian thinks you've been acting strange. There it was, Vivian. I'm just tired, I said. Calvin leaned closer. If something's bothering you, you'd tell me, right? Of course. He kissed my forehead. It felt like a branding. Good. Because I'd hate to think you were keeping secrets. He left the room. I sat frozen for 10 minutes, then checked my phone. A new app I didn't recognize, Family Locate. Calvin had installed tracking software while I slept. I texted Ruiz immediately. He's tracking me. Ruiz, asterisk don't delete it. Use it. Go to normal places. Act boring, so that's what I did. I went to the grocery store, the gym, the coffee shop where I always graded papers. I became so predictable I could have been a screensaver. And while Calvin thought he was watching me, I was watching him. The gray sedan appeared on a Thursday. I noticed it because it was parked across from the yoga studio I went to every week, except I didn't go inside that day. I turned around because I forgot my mat. The sedan turned around too. I drove to the library instead. 15 minutes later, it was in the parking lot. Same car, same driver, middle-aged man, sunglasses, no expression. I took a photo of the license plate and sent it to Ruiz. His reply, private investigator. Vivian hired him, don't confront, stay in public. So I did. I smiled at neighbors. I waved at the mailman. I acted like someone with nothing to hide. But that night, I couldn't sleep. If Vivian hired someone to follow me, she already suspected something. Which meant I was running out of time. The next morning, an email appeared in my inbox. Sender, Tessa Marsh, Calvin's assistant. The message was short. Attached is the updated payment schedule. Please review and confirm receipt. There was a link. Click here to view document. I stared at it. Tessa never sent me charity documents. Ever. I forwarded it to Layla without clicking. Her response came in all caps. Do not click THAT link. It's a phishing trap. I forwarded it to Ruiz next. Ruiz, smart. They're testing if you're accessing files. If you'd clicked, they'd know exactly what you've been looking at. My hands shook. Calvin wasn't just watching me, he was hunting me. That night at dinner, Calvin asked casually, "Did Tessa send you something today?" I looked up, fork halfway to my mouth. An email. She said she accidentally copied you on a board file. Oh, I said lightly. I didn't see it. Want me to check? No need, I told her to delete it. He smiled. I smiled back. And under the table, I texted Ruiz one word: escalating. Tessa pulled me aside 3 days later. We were at the house. She was dropping off contracts for Calvin to sign. Vivian was in the living room, rearranging furniture like a general planning a siege. Tessa's voice dropped to a whisper. "Mrs. Brooks, I need to tell you something." I stopped pretending to arrange flowers. "What?" There's a second phone. Calvin keeps it in the safe behind the painting in his office. He calls it his clean phone. My pulse spiked. "Why are you telling me this?" Her eyes were glassy. "Because I have a daughter. And if someone was stealing from her school fund, I'd want to know." She left before I could respond. That night, I waited until Calvin fell asleep, whiskey-heavy, snoring like a chainsaw. I crept into his office. Behind the oil painting of a sailboat was a wall safe, small and digital. I didn't know the code, but Calvin was a creature of habit. I angled my phone's flashlight at the keypad. Faint smudges marked 4 numbers, 196751967. Of course. I started to reach for the dial, then stopped. If I opened it and he had cameras, I was done. If I opened it and took the phone, he'd know. Instead, I took photos of the keypad smudges and the safe's serial number, then slipped out. I sent everything to Ruiz. "Ruiz, do not open that safe. But this gives us probable cause for a warrant." Good work. Probable cause. It sounded like armor. 2 weeks before the gala, Vivian hosted a family reconciliation dinner. Translation, a performance. She invited pastors, old family friends, and 3 city council members. The dining room looked like a magazine spread, candles, orchids, plates that cost more than my first car. I wore the sapphire necklace Calvin gave me and a smile I didn't feel. During dessert, Vivian stood and raised her wine glass. "To loyalty," she said, eyes locked on mine, "to family, and to keeping our private matters private asterisk." Everyone clinked glasses. I clicked the pen in my lap. After dinner, Vivian cornered me near the kitchen. "You look better," she said softly, "less restless." "I'm fine, Vivian," her smile sharpened. "Good. Because if you embarrass my son, you won't like what happens next." There it was, the threat crystal clear. I kept my face neutral. "I'd never do that." "Of course you wouldn't," she patted my arm. "You're smarter than you look." The pen recorded every word. That night, I sent the file to Ruiz with shaking hands. "Ruiz, that's witness intimidation." "We've got her." 3 days later, a courier delivered a legal envelope. Inside was a petition for a court-ordered mental health evaluation. Calvin's lawyer claimed I was displaying erratic behavior, paranoia, and signs of instability. I read it twice, numb. This was the play. If I looked unstable, my evidence looked unreliable. If I fought it, I looked defensive. If I agreed, I gave them ammunition. I called Ruiz, voice cracking. "They're trying to discredit me." "I know," he said. "Don't respond yet. Let me talk to the prosecutor. What if the judge believes them? Then we move faster." That night, I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how easy it would be for Calvin to win, how men like him always did. But then Layla texted me a screenshot. It was a news article from 2019. Local businessman accused of fraud, case dismissed due to lack of evidence. The businessman's name was Marcus Lyle. The same consultant from the Ridgewell invoices. Layla's message: "Calvin's done this before. He just got better at hiding it." That's when I realized something. This wasn't about me being strong enough. This was about me being ready enough, and I was. Back in the ballroom, Calvin's speech is hitting its emotional peak. We've given hope to the hopeless, opportunity to the forgotten. My phone buzzes. Ruiz, T-minus 90 seconds. You good? I text back. Ready? I slip away from my table during applause and walk toward the AV booth. Sandra, the tech Calvin screamed at, is adjusting the laptop. Highlight reels queued, she says quietly. Perfect. I hand her the USB drive. This is the backup, in case the main feed glitches. She looks at me for a long moment, then she takes it. Failover protocol, she says. Got it. I walk back to my seat. Vivian watches me like a hawk. Where were you? She hisses. Bathroom, I say sweetly. On stage, Calvin wraps up. And now, let's see the impact of your generosity. The screen behind him flickers. The charity highlight reel begins, children laughing, ribbons being cut, Calvin shaking hands with senators. 60 seconds in, the screen freezes. A loading icon spins. Calvin frowns, turns toward the AV booth. Sandra's fingers fly across the keyboard. The screen goes black, then it changes. #slide on * Brooks Bright Future Fund. Vendor analysis murmurs ripple through the room. Calvin's smile tightens. There's a technical issue. #slide 2, RIDGWELL processing. $847,000 in payments to a non-existent company. The murmurs get louder. Vivian stands up. Turn that off. Sandra doesn't move. #slide 3, Shell Company registration, HARGRAVE Holdings LLC, registered to Vivian Hargrave Brooks. Gasps, phones come out. People start recording. #slide 4, a screenshot of Calvin's text. She's signing papers now, she's back in line. #slide 5, audio starts playing. Calvin's voice, recorded in his office, moved the Ridgewell payment through the new shell. Vivian's worried the board's getting nosy. The room goes silent. Calvin rushes toward the AV booth, face red. Turn IT off. But venue security steps between him and the stage, because now the presentation is official programming, and he's disrupting it. For the first time in his life, strangers block Calvin Brooks. That's when the doors open. Agents enter, FBI, IRS criminal investigation, badges out. Agent Ruiz walks in like gravity itself. Calvin Brooks, he says clearly, you are under arrest for wire fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering, and theft of charitable funds. Calvin blinks. This is insane. I'm the victim here, Vivian Brooks, Ruiz continues, turning toward her. You are also under arrest. Vivian's face drains of color. You can't. We can, Ruiz says. And we are, handcuffs click, not loud, just final. Calvin's eyes find mine across the room. For 5 years, that look controlled me, not anymore. Maya, he says, voice shaking. What did you do? I stand up, smooth my dress, and walk toward him until we're face to face. I listened, I say softly. For 11 months I listened, and I recorded everything. His face twists. You'll ruin us? No, I say. You ruined yourselves, I just stopped covering for you. The agents lead him toward the door. Calvin shouts one last thing loud enough for the cameras. She knew. She was involved, she's lying. The room hesitates. Ruiz raises a hand. Mrs. Brooks is a federal witness, he says clearly. Her cooperation is the reason we're here tonight. The room shifts. Calvin's last weapon, doubt, shatters in real time. As they walk him out, I hear him screaming my name. I don't turn around. Part 2, the aftermath OR. What happens when the hero doesn't get a clean ending? That night, Ruiz moves me to a hotel under a fake name. At 2 a.m., an email arrives in my personal inbox. You embarrassed us. This isn't over. I forward it to Ruiz. He texts back, * don't respond. We're tracing it. You're safe, but I don't feel safe. I feel like I'm waiting for the next shoe to drop. The bribe I refused a week later, a woman I barely know calls my burner phone. Mrs. Brooks, her voice is smooth, professional. My name is Caroline Vance, I'm a friend of Vivian's. How did you get this number? That's not important. What's important is that we can make this easier for everyone. I'm hanging up. Wait, her voice sharpens. Name your price, you can still live comfortably. Just stop cooperating with the investigation. My hand tightens on the phone. You're asking me to obstruct justice. I'm asking you to be reasonable. I laugh, sharp, bitter. Reasonable. Your friend stole from kids. You think I'm selling out for a paycheck? Everyone has a price, Maya. Then you don't know me at all. I hang up. I send the number to Ruiz. Ruiz, that call helps us. Keep records of everything. Hash the trial, where Calvin tried to flip the story. The trial starts in May. The courthouse steps are a circus. Reporters, cameras, protesters holding signs that say justice for Maya and others that say gold digger. Inside, the courtroom smells like old wood and tension. Calvin sits at the defense table in a tailored suit, looking smaller than I remember. Vivian sits behind him, spine straight, jaw locked. The prosecutor is a woman named Diane Chen, sharp as a scalpel, zero patience for nonsense. She presents the evidence methodically, the invoices to fake vendors, the shell company under Vivian's maiden name, the recordings of Calvin and Vivian discussing moving money, the fake login email designed to catch me. The second phone recovered from the safe, which had texts to Marcus Lyle discussing distribution. Calvin's lawyer, a slick man named Harrison Webb, tries to flip it. Mrs. Brooks, he says during cross-examination, isn't it true you had access to your husband's accounts? No, I say clearly. I had screenshots. Not access, but you admit you accessed his files without permission. I accessed files I suspected were being used to commit fraud. Or, Webb says smoothly, you accessed them to stage a revenge plot against a husband you resented. Diane objects. The judge sustains it, but Webb keeps pushing. Mrs. Brooks, did you or did you not benefit from the charity's income? I lived in a house my husband paid for, yes. So you enjoyed the lifestyle this alleged fraud provided. I meet his eyes. I also helped build that charity. I wrote campaigns. I pitched donors. I made it credible. And when I found out it was being used to steal, I reported it. Convenient, Webb says. After 5 years of silence. I wasn't silent, I say quietly. I was gathering proof. The jury watches me carefully. I can't tell if they believe me. Hash the verdict and the collapse. The jury deliberates for 3 days. On the third day, I sit in the courthouse hallway, hands shaking, while Layla holds my hand and Ruiz stands nearby like a sentinel. When the bailiff calls us back in, my legs barely work. The jury foreman stands. On the count of wire fraud, guilty. Calvin's face goes white. On the count of conspiracy to commit money laundering, guilty. Vivian grips the table. On the count of theft of charitable funds, guilty. The gavel comes down. Calvin's lawyer immediately files for appeal, but the damage is done. Outside, the press swarms. I don't stop. I walk straight to the car, Ruiz on one side, Layla on the other. A reporter shouts, Maya, how does it feel to win? I stop. I turn. I look directly into the camera. This wasn't about winning, I say. This was about the truth finally being louder than the lie. Then I get in the car and leave. 6 months later. The life I chose, I live in a small apartment, now with windows that actually open. The furniture is secondhand. The dishes don't match. The rent is $950 a month, and I pay it myself. I teach 2 classes a week at the community college, nonprofit ethics and financial transparency. The first day, 23 students showed up. Now I have a waiting list. I also started a workshop series called *** Clear Path ***. Free classes on recognizing financial abuse, understanding your rights, and auditing nonprofits. We meet in a church basement every Thursday. Last week, a woman approached me after class. She was shaking. My husband controls all our accounts, she whispered. I don't even know how much we have. I handed her a packet, step-by-step guides, resources, hotlines. You're not crazy, I told her. And you're not alone. She cried. I did too. Because I know what it's like to feel trapped in your own life. And I know what it's like to fight your way out. Hash the letter I didn't expect one afternoon. A letter arrives from the State Attorney General's office. Inside is a single-page summary. * Brooks Bright Future Fund, recovered assets. $2.1 million the funds are being redirected to. Local food banks, after-school tutoring programs, housing assistance for low-income families, real help. Not photo ops, not press releases, real help. I frame the letter and hang it on my wall, not because I need recognition, but because I need to remember that the work mattered. Hash the night I see Calvin again, from a distance.